So yeah, the question that Poet was just raising is, we're using the straight dev. So one of the rules that's changed is previously, if you are a great power, you could only have one other great power ally, and if you were top 4 great powers, then you could not have any great power allies. Was that right? Or you can't? Something like that. However, several players didn't like the fact that the great power status was reflecting institutions, so even though Uran, who is an absolutely enormous, and there it is, nation, was able to stay out of the top 4 great powers while still being able to basically abuse the ability to ally with the other great powers, whereas somebody who had completely caught up with the institutions wasn't. Still not entirely sold on that, because not having the institutions is a pretty big deal, and you will eventually catch up, but that rule was changed. Now the question is whether the development, which is how we're listing it now instead of just great power level, still includes half of colonial nations as the great power mechanic uses. My gut feeling is yes, but how do we calculate that easily? That's one of the ongoing problems, is how do you calculate everything in an easy way. Anyway, the Spanish have declared war against the British. They have called in Spain, France, Portugal, and the Papal State against the British. 184,000 infantry against 118, but that is not the important stat. 60 heavy ships against 42 heavy ships for the British. The British, of course, being, well, Great Britain, so they have some pretty hefty bonuses, but they are heavily outnumbered. And I am also noticing naval invasions occurring straight away. It looks like Britain has definitely upset a couple of players and have managed to pull off a complete surprise naval invasion just like that. And this is a pretty strong coalition that they have facing against them. And of course, as soon as Britain loses a province, then the troops can start flooding in, because they don't need to wait a month or 2 months to offload troops. They can just go in, out, in, out, in, out, and the whole process becomes a lot quicker. This is a great area to naval invade the British.
I'm sorry we're paused again, but FAO kind of dropped again, and I also got that call to arms in that giant war, so I had to read that as well, because that's, I think I'm entitled to have to pause and read that for a second.
Yes,
that one.
Definitely with that size conflict.
So FAO's coming back, I guess, from what I can see. So
cool.
We'll see what happens again. Hopefully this shouldn't happen again.
Hey, Sleffen.
Hi. I suppose I also will be called in this war, since I'm allied to Austria?
I think it's only the Emperor that gets the call.
Yeah, but doesn't he also have, the Emperor and his allies?
I don't know. I've never really played as the Emperor.
Neither have I. So this
the Emperor
could be...
can call his allies, I think. Yeah, I think they can. So he may well call you. I'm not sure. That would be up between you two.
Yeah. So this could snowball into a world war, basically.
Yes, this certainly could. I mean, it's already most of the way there.
Oh.
As this is going to include Indonesia, the Americas, Europe, North America. Yeah, it's a pretty big fight.
Yeah. Also, the other great powers could probably intervene as well.
Almost certainly.
Well, this could be interesting.
Yep. Good luck.
Thank you.
Okay, so naval battles are starting. We have the British combat fleet. These are 21 of their 60 heavy ships currently fighting against the Portuguese transport fleet. They do have relative parity in terms of heavy ships, although the British have significantly more morale. And do not forget that the British are a pirate republic, meaning that they will be capturing a bunch of these ships. So even though the British started this war numerically inferior, they will probably end it numerically superior. Because right now they own 48 heavy ships and their enemies have only got 14. None of the troops have landed. I think that most of the hope here is going to be from Spain and just Spain. It's going to be down to whether the French can hold out here. One French army has landed, but it is a landing penalty. Spanish forces have landed. I think that Spain might actually be making a bit of a mistake trying to force march into this fight. Or maybe not. France is marching away. Where is France going? France is going for London? Nope, they've realised that they should probably join this fight. 12,000 against 17,000. They're on a -2 because of the landing Spanish troops coming in. France did manage to make it on time. Spain has stopped force marching in the meantime. Britain sent packing, and now they need to start taking ports down here in the south as quickly as they can and just scattering control all around so that they can continue to sneak in extra forces. The advantage that Britain has, of course, is they can continue to reinforce, whereas the Allied powers cannot. But this was a really nice offensive. Very, very well organised, very well put together, and I am really quite impressed by what they've done here. But what they need to do now is they just need to take, like, Cornwall, and then they can start, like, loading in Finisterre, jumping across to Cornwall, jumping away again. They may well get blockaded from time to time by the British fleet, but that's also forcing the British to start splitting up their forces. So England definitely up against it a little bit here. We did notice previously that Britain has quite a few troops abroad. Did the war just end? No. This is, of course, going to bring in the colonies as well. So these 44,000 Brits are going to be fighting against the New Iberia. That's an amazing name. New Iberia. I like it. We'll be fighting against Mordred, probably trying to take control of some of these territories. There is a Spanish army here in Chesapeake who are currently exiled. I don't know if they can unexile if they go into Mordred. They might be able to, or purposefully staying exiled so that they don't get attacked. Meanwhile, who else is going to be jumping in on this? We do have the Inca jumping in against Mordcorp Oil, trying to take out some of the Spanish territories in South America and Central America. Meanwhile, the big question, did Austria answer? Austria did answer. Austria are in the war as well. Currently moving some of their troops east. Where are you going? France is that way. That way. I forget my camera is mirrored. Britain, meanwhile, is trying to build a bunch of extra troops. We do have a small Brazilian fleet off the coast there, but the carpet sieging has begun. And they are starting to raise mercenaries in the south of England. This is, of course, something you can do in occupied territories. So Britain is going to be feeling the pinch here a little bit. And if Britain itself begins to fall, then their colonies are not going to be able to defend themselves very well. And I do wonder if these 44,000 troops are really best positioned to be fighting in Mordred, or whether Val should be using their complete naval superiority to bring them back home and use them to fight against the French and the Papal States who have landed here. Meanwhile, the Papal forces, or the Spanish forces, don't seem to be trying to land any more troops. We do have a Dutch fleet sailing around, possibly watching the waters there, though that may also be a trading fleet. Meanwhile, Austria, not really looking to be very interested in joining in. Do Austria have any diplomatic expenses? They do not. Is Britain getting any money from subsidies? They are not. Are any of the hostile powers getting subsidies? No. No, they are not. And of course, Britain did humiliate France, Spain, and the Papal States previously in another naval war. So this is very much a war of revenge, where the naval coalition, as they were called at the time, is getting their own back against the British. Of course, Austria is going to be at war with the Papal States. So Austria and the Papal States may well be fighting down here. Austria doesn't have a navy. I was going to say they've got a tiny little navy, but compared to what the Papal States could bring in, it's not really. Meanwhile, let's go and take a look at this from the British perspective once again. Only 8 heavy ships being left on the naval coalition side. 49 heavies on the British. Some of those will be British, some of those... Oh no, Inca and Austria don't have any. I'm actually a little bit surprised that Inca don't, also being a pirate republic. I'm sure that the Emperor's actions or lack thereof in defending an elector won't have any possible ramifications. Because, yeah, the Emperor could be really opening up a new front against the French, which will possibly draw some of the French forces back from Britain, which would relieve a lot of pressure on the British. especially if the British were able to catch them while they're at sea. But the, what to call them? French, Papal, French, Spanish naval coalition forces continue to move through. We do have 23,000 Brits here, raising another small army in the north. Is it going to be enough, though? And what are they going to want from this peace deal? It looks like the Papal States are being given most of the territories. We do have forces marching in. The English have got a -2 advantage against their enemy, 110 discipline against 115, 6 morale against 5.5. That's just the Papal States, though. I do wonder what advantage the French forces will have against the British. The English forces, once again, being sent packing there. Where are they going to be retreating to? Can we see that? Okay, they're retreating quite far away. Because they were going in, like, the southeast direction, I did wonder if that was going to be retreating in the wrong direction, but it doesn't look to have been the case. Meanwhile, in the colonies, Amordica almost entirely occupied already. New Iberia coming in, the British Redcoats doing their part, and then, of course, the Incan attack on Mordcorp Oil. I do think that Inca may well be one of the biggest benefactors of this war, and if Inca had actually built a navy, they could be challenging the Caribbean dominance right now. Unfortunately, they've not built a navy, so they're not going to be able to do that. But they are clearing up the little Spanish colonies which are all around them everywhere. They will also be fighting against Portuguese, Brazil. But at the moment, that doesn't seem to be hotting up too much. And of course, one of the few areas where the naval coalition can still reach would be the Americas, because the British fleet is being forced to stay at home to stop any further reinforcement coming in. They could probably afford to send away maybe half of these to start blockading in other areas, because they have got a complete superiority in terms of heavy ships. It's going to take the naval coalition quite a lot of time to build up again, but it does look like the naval sacrifices made against the British have definitely counted for something here. And it kind of looks like Britain may have just deleted the ships that they were taking. What is their capture chance? Chance to capture enemy ships is only actually 33%. That's a lot lower than what I was expecting. Now, is anyone else in this war? Yuran's in a war. Maguindano is in a war. Japan is in a player war. Okay, so apparently there is another one going on. We've got Japan, Maguindao, and Yuran going against Portugal, Ayutthaya, France, and Spain, and the Papal States. So the Pacific conflict has also begun. I was anticipating a strike back against the Indonesians from the Asian players, and that does indeed look to have kicked off. Ayutthaya, also having been somewhat isolated in their choice to align themselves with the European powers as opposed to their fellow Asian powers, are going to be drawn into a conflict against Yuran. At the moment, it looks like the Filipino pirates are taking out all of Portugal's Indonesian territories without any real resistance, because the Portuguese fleet is currently decorating the bottom of the ocean. So they probably won't have very much resistance there. And then Ayutthaya possibly regretting some of their life decisions in choosing one of the other players. Japan just crashed, so we'll just wait for Japan to load in again as they are in this fight. Oh, hey, Mean Wolf. Mean Wolf, while I have you here, we were thinking that you could join in as Ethiopia. Ethiopia is still a really strong nation, and Bjornvar, who was playing as them, has dropped out, so it is available if you want it. Instead of playing as a vassal, I think Ethiopia would be a good fit for you. And if you want to jump in as Ethiopia, it's yours. Seriously, where is Austria? Austria is currently defending Odenburg. Odenburg and Feyre is a very, very important and highly strategic location right in the centre of Austria, where the soldiers are currently enjoying all kinds of luxuries and stuff on Lake Balaton, which is a really, really important area as well, and Lake Balaton just really needs to be able to hold out here. Waiting for match of the week, Liverpool versus Man U. That's why I didn't join today. Well, like I said, do you want Ethiopia? Say so now and I'll protect it, because right now it's kind of iffy as to whether it is actually protected. But yeah, Malacca was wiped out. I think they've still got 2 provinces. Nope. Nope, Malacca was completely wiped out. To be fair to Austria, there were 40,000 Hungarian separatists in the area. True, but the Commonwealth was dealing with them. Make an agreement to the Commonwealth where they fight your rebels and then your own armies can go and fight against the French. You're the Emperor. You probably can extend that kind of influence, especially as you're saying, I'm guarding you against the Russians. Okay, no worries. In that case, technically this session, Ethiopia should not be protected. Poet, if you're still watching, can you tell the players that Ethiopia is not protected? Because I don't think it was ever made clear, but they shouldn't be. They were protected last session, even though I forgot to say that. They are not protected this session.
Sorry, which country did you say wasn't protected?
Ethiopia.
I'll pass that around if it... and...
Thank you. Is the subcontinent in any wars? No. I suspect that the Middle East is going to be licking their wounds because they were fighting the entirety... Well, not the entirety. They fought a huge war at the end of last session. So that's going to be Tunis, Andalusia, Mamluks, Timurids, Delhi... actually, maybe not Delhi. Hindustan. All of those guys are going to be licking their wounds. I'm actually kind of surprised and also impressed that the Papal States are still getting very much stuck in, because the Papal States were also in the war against the Mamluks. Ethiopia isn't protected. Italian colonization intensifies. I suppose just as well the Ottomans cannot declare war right now, otherwise, oh boy, I'm sure Austria's allies would be just as helpful as the Austrians are to Great Britain. Yeah, I mean, that's really the penalty that these two are facing, is there's going to be a lot of wars going on around them and they cannot jump in against those players. So don't break rules. Still loading in? Yes, Master Giles is loading in. I think they just finished. Just needs to hurry up and choose his country. Meanwhile, Gamer Zeke and Boomer, thank you very much for the follows. Welcome to the channel. Good to see you here. And good to see so many of you watching again today. Welcome if you are new. Welcome back if you are not.